Yo guys, welcome to episode 5. Today we're going to switch gears a little bit from the plugins. We're going to look at a Rewire type video today, kind of explaining how I use Logic and Ableton together. It's a very simple way to put two DAWs together, and there's many benefits of doing it that way. If you guys already do this, it's perfect. I highly recommend it, especially if you guys have two monitor screens where you guys can have the DAWs on separate screens. I'm going to have mine all in one for the video so we can obviously see what we're recording, but it's really beneficial, especially in my opinion, for Logic users to have real-time samples playing. The sample playing in Logic isn't really that great in sifting through sounds and samples that are in your library. I prefer Ableton personally. So I've been rewiring and putting these together for years. It works for my workflow. That's what I want to show in today's video. If we jump to the screen, guys, you can see in my notes, there's a few things you do have to do to set it up. It takes about a minute to set these up. First things first, in Logic is going to be the host, and Rewire is going to be being the Rewire other DAW. So make sure you guys have the host open first. The sequence of how you open the software is very important, otherwise it won't work. But simply setting it up in Logic preferences and in our audio tab, you guys can see right down here, we just have to turn on Rewire. Some people do playback mode. For me, it doesn't matter. I've tried both Rewire behavior and they work perfect. So you have to make sure that's put together. And once you get that done inside Live, when you have that open, if this is not showing in the audio of Live, if this is not showing Rewire, then it's not working right. So you've probably opened the sequence wrong of your DAWs, so you'd have to go back and just restart everything. But this is how it's going to show when you open it. Let me just close Live. And when you open it up, it should say Rewire right here, running as Rewire device. If it doesn't say that, then it's not hooked up correctly. So make sure you guys really go back and forth in making sure it's open correctly. And you've went through the steps of setting that up. Now let's look at the limitations, guys, to this. You can see on my list, Live will have no VST AU plugins available. Max for Live is not available. No physical audio input output through Live. MIDI sync disabled. And one DAW is going to control, that being Logic. And that's okay. One of them has to control the input output. Pretty straightforward. Now the pros for me, as I get to this in playing stuff, one, Live has such a better sampler, and I can have Live as just holding all my samples. Whatever hard drive you put them on, that doesn't matter. You guys can add folder and add your samples. But what it does is I don't really have to worry about that taking up space in Logic. Again, this DAW will be on my other screen above me, so I can have two DAWs going at once. If you guys have multiple monitors left and right, you can control them. But really, my main thing with Live, if we just kind of go in here and let's say we're going through drum loops and I'm playing something in Logic, you guys can see in the top right of Live, Live is going to sync up in real time. It's going to sync up right when you hit play, but also the BPM. So if we're at 120 and we're at 120 there, let's say I want to bump it up to 128, Live is going to change automatically right up here. That's huge. I don't have to change any setups. I don't have to warp anything. It's what I'm playing is it's going to be playing in the other DAW. That's huge. Now, the one thing we have to set up, guys, is getting Live into Logic's console. Very easy. If you go down to Logic and you go to options and create new auxiliary channel strip, now what you guys can do is bring Live right into the mixing console. So if we go down here to Ableton Live, we're going to bring in the left and right channels of Ableton. So anything I'm doing in Ableton is now going to come through into Logic's mixer. So if I'm playing the kick drum here in Logic, let's say I want to sync up a hi-hat loop. When I click the hi-hat loop in Live, it's going to wait for the next beat, and then it's going to start playing it right on real time. And you can do this anything from fills, as long as the samples are bounced, on grid to their tempo. It's Live is going to warp them in real time to come into Logic in real time. So you guys can see the best thing too, and why this speeds up my workflow. I still can continue using Live, so I can open up Live Sampler if I want to adjust anything. I love using Live's chopping functions in their sampler. It's definitely more advanced than Logic. But the cool thing is, guys, the simplest thing ever is the drag and drop. If I love a hi-hat, I can literally bring this right into Logic. And now I won't have anything playing through Live because I have my sample choice. I now will control it as if it's any other sound. And you guys can even put effects on Live too. If if you want to treat Live as if it's a different sound, if you have just effects coming through Live, you can EQ them and do whatever you want. You can also still use the arrange window and everything in Live. If you want to arrange loops in there, it's still going to come through. It's all going to come through in one channel. But if you want to start throwing things into Live, if I just expand this, we can just start using stuff in here, and it's gonna come through into Logic. Just as if it's two DAWs working at the same time. It's quite incredible, and you guys can save that as a live file. So they open up corresponding if you want a Logic file saved and the Ableton one saved. When you open them back up, you're gonna have two working together. One having the loops, Logic maybe having the main session. That's up to you guys. And even if we have stuff there going, I can now try to mess with something else. I mean, it is such a simple thing in today's episode, but I know there's a lot of artists and producers out there that aren't using this, and that's okay. But I also bump across a lot of Logic users in my network that say, hey, what are you doing for going through samples? Are you using your Finder? That is so slow pace to use something like that. And to do it this way, it's incredible. There is a workaround in Logic. There's ways to do something like this in Logic. I don't like it. There's a bunch of stuff explained online on how to do that and use samplers and load it into this and that. I don't really like it. I'm a huge Ableton plus Logic user. So that's it for today's episode, guys. Try that out. If you guys own both DAWs, or if you want to rewire another DAW to whichever one you want to use, there's multiple ways to do that. It comes in handy with having two DAWs, going at once. There really is an upside to it. So give it a shot, guys. I'll catch you in the next episode. Take care. We got love where we are.